Welcome to the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast, where we aim to help fellow veterinary rehab therapists increase their knowledge and elevate their practice. I'm Megan Kelly.
And I'm Anae Lloyd. Together, we bring you the latest insights, research, and information in the field of veterinary rehabilitation.
This podcast is brought to you by Onlinepethealth, a leading continuing education membership for veterinary rehabilitation therapists. With Onlinepethealth, you will have access to a wide range of online resources to help you stay up to date with the latest techniques, advances, and trends in the industry.
Our podcast features in-depth conversations with leading experts in veterinary rehabilitation. They share their own experiences and knowledge to help you improve your practice. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out in the field, our goal is to provide you with the tools and the insights you need to succeed.
So join us as we explore the exciting world of veterinary rehabilitation and help you take your practice to the next level. Hey vet rehabbers, now one of the fastest ways to grow isn't by avoiding mistakes, it's by learning from someone else's journey. And that's exactly why we created our Behind the Vet Rehab Practice series. Now in these conversations, we go beyond the clinical side of veterinary rehabilitation and we explore what it really takes to build and grow a successful vet rehab practice. We talk openly about the wins that move the practice forward, the challenges that tested them, and the lessons that these practitioners wish they'd known earlier. Whether you're just starting out or managing an established practice, there's always something you can take away and apply to your own practice. Now, in today's episode, I sit down with Danyel Wynn and we discuss her journey as a vet rehabilitation business owner. She dives into how she's built systems that allow her business to grow without everything depending on her, from creating efficient workflows and empowering her team to think strategically about scaling. Danyel shares practical insights that any practice owner can learn from. If you're looking for some more learning, don't forget to register for this year's Vet Rehab Summit on the 14th of November. It's completely free to attend live, and it brings together leading experts from around the world to help you become a better veterinary rehabilitation professional. This year's theme is the brain. You can head over to vetrehabsummit.com to register. A quick word from our sponsor. Support, prevent, and rehabilitate. That's the Paw Prosper way. It built a portfolio of industry-leading brands like Walking Pets, Help 'em Up, Respond Animal Therapeutics, Fit Paws, and Blue Nine to give your patients the gold standard in care. And we have some big news. Paw Prosper is officially the new home of the Canine Rehabilitation Institute and Online Pet Health. We're bringing the best products and the best online education together under one roof to help you and your patients thrive. As a special hello to the Online Pet Health community, we're offering a one-time gift with your next order when you sign up today. You can head over to pawprosper.com/OPH and join the movement in pet rehabilitation. Right, over to my chat with Danyel. Hey Danyel, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be here.
For the listeners, why don't you tell them how you got into the field of vet rehab?
Yeah, so it started off in veterinary school at CSU. I met Martin Kaufman, and he was there with Ortho Pets. And at that time, Sasha just started off in rehab at CSU. And so she had her small department that she was building. And it was just having a rotation and helping in that field that got me interested in rehab. And so then I signed up in veterinary school for the course for acupuncture and rehab. And that just steered me down this path, and this is where I've been since. Yeah.
Did you ever practice as a normal GP vet?
I did, because the rehab certification took 2 years. And so my first year out was in general practice. And then from there, I went on to work in a standalone rehab practice. And I quickly worked up to training doctors that were coming in, training technicians that were coming in, building an onboarding and training program, and then worked up to medical director in that practice. And then I was offered partnership in that practice, and I ended up not pursuing a partnership and instead went off and started my own practice and reached out to Martin and Amy again, and they gave me a sweetheart deal and to lease out of their place. And that's how this whole journey and path started. Yeah.
So what year were you there?
Actually, I'm not good with years. As far as what year I was there, I do everything by my my children and how old they were.
Yeah.
So at that time they were newborn, or my first one was a newborn. And that's when I started my own practice, was when Aiden was a newborn. I think he was only 2 weeks old at that time when I branched off onto this journey. But it was an amazing deal. They uh, gave me my break to start into rehab. It allowed me to save up. So I would see patients half the week, and the other half the week we were manufacturing the devices that my patients were going into. And that allowed me to save up to find the first location that we entered into.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think, because I actually went and like saw practice there with them and did like a
Mhm.
little internship and in like 2008, 2009. So I
Uh-huh,
was there, I think 2010, I think I went there.
uh-huh,
But I'd started like looking at orthopeds and I think I did in the beginning, I did like casting just from like a video that Martin had sent
mhm,
me. Then in 2010, I went to their premises, and I think I stayed like a week and a half and
uh-huh.
just saw what they were doing and learned how to do the casting better and stuff. So I was wondering maybe you were there.
No, yeah, I didn't graduate vet school until 2014, so it was after that. But it was a great opportunity. It allowed me to learn so much. I'm pretty sure you learned a lot during that week and a half time that you were there. But to spend like those, that time period that I had there, it really built up my confidence to handle any injury that came through the door because I had a solution, or I knew how to think creatively or differently.
Yeah, love it.
Mhm.
And so let's fast forward to today. So how does
Mhm.
practice look now?
Yeah, so fast forwarding today, I entered into that first location, was unsure if it would succeed or do well, but went forth with it. It actually succeeded and did very well, and the team grew, and I didn't have enough treatment rooms to treat all the patients that were coming to the door, or to even have rooms for our doctors to practice out of. So very quickly after that first year, I then opened the second location, which is in South Boulder right now. And even today, I mean, it's a gorgeous location. It's a big practice. It still doesn't feel big enough. So, like, an example is here we are today. We have 6 doctors running today, but we only have 4 treatment rooms. And so we are treating patients in the reception area out in the open. We're like having to really think critically about how we maneuver patients throughout the practice for that location. We had a lot of patients that were coming from Denver. And so I decided it's time to open another location. And that's what I enjoy doing. Today, I think about like my goals moving forward. And I do want to open more locations. I do want to take Walking Paws and take it and it be a national brand. And that's my happy place. I love dreaming about what we can do next, where we can go, and then designing and building that practice, and then building up the team and training the team. And so we just opened Denver a couple months ago, and that is my dream practice. I designed it, built it, even like drew out like the architect plan and worked with the architect on what it would look like, and like been involved every step of the way. And yeah, now I'm ready to go on the next location. So that's where we're at today.
What are the main things that you learned from the first practice that you changed in the second practice?
Ooh, it was more of design in the first practice, how to build out the practice so that way we create this welcoming space for clients to enter into. Because I think design plays a huge role in the experience that the client has, that the experience that the team members have, how we're able to work together as a collaborative group. And so that was the change that I made from first practice to second practice, was how I designed and built out this space. As far as the core things, we put a very strong emphasis from the very beginning when I opened the first location into building up our onboarding and training program. So everything that I was training, teaching was all being video recorded and put into an onboarding and training program. That way, a doctor entering straight from CRI or NC State or University of Tennessee can enter and spend a couple months being like well mentored and trained to feel confident to be able to handle any case that walks through the door. And that same core stuff that started in that very first practice has carried over into each practice. It's gotten to the point where it's streamlined now to where we have our systems and procedures down pretty well to be able to build up a team very fast and to be able to create that collaboration. So that way there's good support so we can really see some pretty serious injuries at our practice. Mhm.
So as you're talking now, I'm just thinking like you're like the complete opposite actually of most therapists, because most therapists,
Mhm.
they don't have much business skills, and the idea
Uh,
of like having multiple practices, it's exciting, but at the same time a little bit like I just want to treat patients. So right now,
yeah.
you're not treating patients at all, right?
No, right now I am not treating patients. Every day I work with our director of operations and it's been a good thing. It was a hard decision to step away from seeing patients, but in order for me to accomplish the goals of our practice and to accomplish the goals of every team member, which is like better pay, health, dental, IRA, or 401k, PTO, all the to like reach everyone's goals, I had to step away and set those as like my primary focus goals and go 100% in on that to accomplish it and accomplish it very fast versus if I was seeing patients, which I know is what most practice owners do is their owner operator. I wouldn't be able to accomplish all the goals that our whole team had and that we wanted and we dreamt for our practice. So I had to step away from that and trust the fact that I can build up a team of doctors to be able to treat patients. Yep.
Yeah, and I think
Mhm.
the reason I think that you're an outlier in because a lot of us didn't get business skills. So we weren't taught
Mhm.
business skills. But this
Yeah,
seems something like intrinsic in you. So like where did that come from? Because that's why we resist.
yeah,
We resist the managing of the practices, and I think we just want to focus on the
yeah,
patient because we don't have the skills for it. So, it's come from somewhere in you. Is that from your family or where did you get
yeah.
all those entrepreneurial skills?
Yeah, it started early on. So didn't come from the family because I actually grew up pretty poor. And but I think growing up that way led to me us being young and not scared of failure. And we were essentially broke and we had nothing to lose at that time. And so our first business was when I was 19 years old. Me and my husband, we started it has nothing to do with veterinary medicine. It was valet parking and it was parking lot management. So while I was in school, we would lease parking lots and then charge for parking. And that set us up to be able to get to a position where I can afford veterinary school. And then while in veterinary school, I actually started another business, which was essentially just cleaning vet practices at night. I was a janitor at night all throughout vet school, and that helped allow me to be able to graduate without any debt and then be able to save up to be able to start the business. So we were always thinking ahead 5 years of, okay, this is the goal that we're setting 5 years from now. How are we going to accomplish that? And then I think, and I think back to my husband, Adam, we worked so hard in our early days when we were younger, just learning how to adapt off of like little sleep and working a lot to be able to accomplish goals. So that way it set up Walking Paws for a lot of success from the very beginning because of that. And that's where it comes from. I think in our household, because we have multiple businesses, we're always talking about goals and changes and how can we improve the businesses. It's just our constant daily life all day. That's what we talk about. Yep.
And is
So it really
Adam in
comes from
the
my partnership. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he in the business with you or does he run the other businesses?
Yeah, he's not a part. Well, he doesn't have any ownership in Walking Paws Rehab. So he has his ownership is in our other two businesses. So the valet parking and then parking lot management. So that's where his ownership is. But my family's been in the background of Walking Paws quite a bit. So even though he is not in the clinic, he's probably consulting on the business
Yeah.
8 hours of his day. So, and then I'm always consulting on like his business too. So we're just always talking about it.
It sounds like you guys support one another. That's really great.
We do. Yeah, it's a great relationship.
So is there anything that you do, like in the business side of things that you wish you could delegate to someone else? Or do you like are most of the business things like I love doing that?
I love the building of a practice. And so I'm a bit of a control freak in that. aspect of I want to design it out. This is like what I envision, creating that dream and accomplishing that. But you have to delegate. In order to scale a business, there has to be a lot of delegation. But in order to delegate, you have to have thorough training first. That way you can train people to be able to keep the standards that you have for a practice. Because one of the things I've noticed is as practices grow, the quality of medicine goes down, the client experience goes down. You start off with great 5-star reviews, but over time it goes down. And it's because people don't create that foundation of training uh, to be able to get someone trained up to the point of being able to delegate. I do have a big support team. I think when starting a business, you have to have a lot of people around you in order to succeed and do well. And so this business was always start off with we have a couple of CPA firms involved, bookkeeper. I would never recommend doing you should know your numbers. You should always know your numbers very well, but I would never recommend doing just bookkeeping all on your own. So having a CPA, bookkeeper, attorneys, we have a director of operations. We've built up a lot of people to be able to get to a point to be able to scale.
Mhm. And you mentioned that you're a bit of a control freak. So do you like take holiday and when you take it, you're like, they've got it, or are you checking in all the time?
I don't know. I work every day, but we do travel a lot. So so I enjoy life. It's not like I know I started off dedicating a lot of hours and long days, and we still do that today, but we're doing it while we're traveling as a family. And I'm really a control freak just on the interior design. So that's my little thing of when I build out a practice, I love to design it and this is what it's going to look like. But everything else, I'm actually a very laid back person and open to ideas, love change. Yeah, so I'm not a control freak elsewhere in the business. Yeah.
So break down for us like how many therapists you have in the different clinics, how you manage all of that. What do you do like when somebody's sick and someone takes
Mhm.
holiday? Like, yeah, just like break down the practice and the managing of all the people and therapists because you sound like you've got quite a few therapists.
Yeah, we do. And so we have 15 therapists. We are in the midst of hiring right now. And that's my biggest challenge in the business is having enough doctors. I just don't think we're producing enough doctors in our field in general. And it's being a highly specialized field, so it makes hiring very challenging to find 15 doctors per practice. It's a huge hurdle to overcome. So, but by having a bigger team, it does allow us to accomplish all those goals. So it allows people to be able to take time off, and we have other team members to rely on to cover. And and I think that as the team gets bigger, you just end up having to have more management to help with the everyday things, such as like time off requests, performance reviews, things like that. And so that's where the director has come in. That has helped quite a bit. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you yourself are involved in most of the training and onboarding. Is that like something that you love to do, or do you think you would delegate that?
I've been looking for a medical director for the last year. So that's my last piece to solve in order to fully scale and take off is to have a medical director by my side that can help me with all the training and building. Because this last location of opening Denver, we in order to keep up with demand, we hired a couple doctors, and so I was training a couple doctors at once amongst two locations. And I'm like, I for sure need a medical director to help me with this. I rely very heavily on the team. So the all the doctors in this practice have been with me from the very beginning. And so we've gone through building up our skills, learning, training CRI and NC State and all the certification programs. They send us a lot of interns. And so we built up this practice so that way everyone plays a role in teaching and training. We all train each other, we all support each other, we do learning rounds together, we're always learning, and then we're training interns that are coming in. And that sets up so where then when we onboard a new doctor onto our team, our whole team already has that mindset of training and teaching and supporting each other. And so I can rely on a lot of the doctors to help me train up a doctor to support them when they're onboarding. Mhm.
Isn't it amazing when you have a business and or a practice, and then you do everything. And then
Hmm.
as it grows, you slowly start to pull back and you say, okay, I'm going to delegate that, or I find a person to do that, and I find a person to do that. And eventually just keep giving more and more things away,
Uh-huh.
to the point where it sounds like now you pretty much could step back and just strategically oversee everything, right? Once you get that
Yeah, it's
medical director.
yes, once I could get that medical director, and it goes through phases. So I go heavy into training, teaching when we're onboarding someone. So I'll be pretty heavy on training for about a month. And then I may go like a couple of months where I'm solely focused on goals. And it's nice that when you finally build up your support team and you build a business to be able to operate very smoothly and to have its systems and procedures down, it allows you to truly focus on accomplishing goals. And so it's nice because I don't want to be stuck in operations. Like I don't want to be stuck in like the day-to-day payroll or scheduling changes or someone's out sick. Like you don't want to be stuck in that because then it takes away from growth and accomplishing everyone's goals. And so it's nice to, when you have built up your support team, you can then drive force of like setting the goals for the year for the practice and accomplishing it very fast.
And do you involve like the team in the goals? So do they know what the goals are and they, celebrate with you when the practice achieves them?
They do. Like I let them know where we're headed before we head there, and sometimes it's shocking, and it's like buckle up, here we go. When I decided to open the Denver location, everyone was like, "We just moved into this location, and change is happening fast." But I feel change isn't happening fast enough, so I thrive in change, and I like change, and I like working towards accomplishing goals, and so I'm always communicating this is the next thing that we're accomplishing.
So
Mhm.
are you busy looking for the third place now?
I think where we're at now is trying to figure out not just opening a third location, but how to open multiple locations. So how to take where we're at now and scale it and um, yeah, take it to multiple markets other than Colorado.
And then how do you finance each new practice? Do you get finance? Have you got enough to finance it? Do you have a structure in place so that if you did scale and had to do multiple, you're like, I can do this, I know exactly how to do it, and this is how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I think to scale and open multiple locations at once, that's where I would have to bring in investors or bring in more money into the picture. I can scale like one practice at a time, though. We've always, like from the very beginning, have lived with no debt. Like that has been a core thing for us. And that's where starting our other businesses early on in life when we were teenagers allowed us to be able to open up a veterinary practice and be able to fund it. And then having multiple businesses in a household allows each business to support each other. So if one business isn't doing that well that year, we don't have to worry as much because we have another business. And having multiple businesses that funds everything that's happening now. I think for most people to get to this point, though, it would be, I think most people go about it with taking on debt. And I just don't know how veterinary rehab can be very successful if you take on a couple $1 million of debt to open up a vet rehab practice. The numbers just don't make sense. And so it helps to be able to know your numbers very well, live within your means, even within your business, and only grow strategically. So when I started off, I started off with just my car and some fit paws equipment and a laser, and that was it. And then I moved into orthopeds, and I made more money, and I was able to buy that equipment. And then we went into the first location, but going into the first location, I was saving up while I was at orthopeds to afford that. Like it's just constantly saving. And in this business, all the money just keeps going back into the business to be able to increase salaries, to be able to increase benefits, to be able to buy more equipment, to be able to open another location. It's just been all reinvested back into the business.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, you definitely are very business savvy. So
Mhm.
knowing exactly what you needed to do, and yeah, hats off to you for like getting yourself through vet school without debt, for
Mhm.
working, being a janitor, You definitely know how to grind. So yeah, that is a huge achievement. A lot of people come out
Mhm.
of school with such debt, and I see a lot of
Thank you.
in Facebook groups and that people 10, 15 years down the line still paying off student loans, and
Yeah.
that's before
Yeah.
they've even decided to open up their own practice, working for other
Yeah.
people. So you really have what you've achieved is amazing, and you should be really proud of yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So let's chat about the marketing of the
Yeah.
business. I mean, by the sounds of it, you were saying you had so many vets and you only have 4 rooms. It sounds like you're super busy. Are you needing to market at the moment? Like even the new practice, is that busy? And what does the marketing department look like?
Yeah. So, marketing, well, now AI is playing a role in marketing, so that's been really helpful. So we're pulling that in quite a bit. But the business, when it first started off, it was marketing by focusing on having really good medical records and have really good collaboration with the vets around and constantly communicating with the vets that are sending patients our way. So, like giving them updates on how their patient is doing, building those relationships. That was the marketing. It wasn't, we're going to focus on social media or uh, we really we've put very little into marketing. I think just by building relationships, that has been its marketing itself. Going into Denver and opening Denver, it's the same thing. We push that same concept of when you see a patient, you take very good care, you practice your best medicine, you give your all to that patient, and the word will spread if you practice your best medicine. And if you really focus, if you build a practice that's focused on the patient experience and the client experience, and you always put that first, that client will then go back to their vet, talk about their experience that they had, and then more patients will be referred our way. Other aspect of marketing that I do is I do a lot of lunch and learns. So I go out and I go to veterinary practices in our area and I direct my lunch and learns to teaching them things that they can do to help patients that come through their door. And just doing that alone leads to referrals.
Mm.
But as far as social media marketing, I haven't done much of that, haven't focused on that much. And there isn't a marketing team behind the scenes or anything like that.
Mm.
Most of the marketing that I focus on now in my time is on hiring. Because I think the business markets itself if you build a really good business, but you have to market and recruit and put a lot of time and energy into hiring doctors. And that's where all my marketing directs into is hiring. Because you can't just post a job ad and expect any, or like on Indeed and expect doctors are going to apply. You actually have to headhunt for doctors.
Yeah, I love it that you invested your time in vet referrals. If I think back to my practice, I mean, I was in the days when social media wasn't really a thing. But
Mhm.
I got mo like probably 80% of my clients were from vet referrals. And once you get those established relationships, they just keep referring. And like you say, you got to
Yes.
do the right things by the clients and establish those relationships with them too. And then they go back and they
Mhm.
remind the vet about you and what you've done. And yeah, so that's great. I think that one of the problems is it depends on where you are. So if you're in let's say there's already established clinics and you open up now
Mhm.
suddenly around the corner, they've got those established relationships, and then it's a little bit harder to build those referrals.
Yeah.
Um, and you have to be brave enough to go to those lunch and learns because
Uh,
not everyone feels comfortable about going and speaking to practices. So.
yes. Yeah, I think having a rehab practice in a bigger market is much easier than having a rehab practice in a smaller market. Yeah. But I would say Colorado has a lot of competition. Like if I think of any state in the US, Colorado has a ton of rehab practices. So there's a lot of competition here. But it's a very special community that really loves animals and supports animals and is health focused where it doesn't matter whether or not you have competition down the road.
Yeah, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that you've also got the systems in place because those systems and processes will make sure that the client experience is consistent.
Yeah.
So, when everything works like that, there's really a time when the client gets irregular sort of treatment, and that's really important for the like customer experience. They want consistency, and yeah, you put the work into that, and that's shining through.
Yeah, consistency. And then when you onboard someone, it's really important, like that you focus on, hey, these are our standards, these are how we communicate, these are how we handle situations. A lot of our training is actually on communication in our practice. There's a
Mm.
huge focus on communication because a lot of us, we're millennials and we're a younger generation coming out, and we have to train on communication to be able to be in front of a client that is older, to be able to speak properly, to be able to navigate through situations. If this pops up, this is how we handle it as a team, and just making sure everyone's on the same page. I think there's so much focus on training the medicine, and we have all that down. So we have your program with Online Pet Health, we have Loria Chu's programs, we have the certification programs. There's so many resources for learning that I think in our schooling, there's very little teaching on communication and professionalism, and that has to be trained and built up. And if you have doctors that speak very well and communicate very well, that usually leads to higher retention rates, that leads to a more successful practice. Mhm.
And I think the communication to managing expectations, I think that's really important. Client comes in with a certain expectation, and they need to leave there, on the same page as the
Yes,
therapist. And if they don't, that's when they become disappointed, and that's when you get the bad reviews.
yes,
So
yes. That's
communication is key.
Yes, communication's key and listening's key in your appointments. So taking the time, like our evals are 2 hours long because we take the client time to sit to that with that client to hear them out, to make sure that we end that appointment on the same page with a goal moving forth. I also think it's really important to set goals. So it's at the end of the appointment, we have a goal that we're both working towards and we're on the same page.
Nice. And the client's in with that goal, right? So
Mhm,
the therapist says to the client, this is our goals, and they review the goals on a regular basis.
mhm. Yes, yep.
Yeah. Ah, good. If you could give one piece of advice to a vet rehab therapist that's just starting out and wanting to open up their clinic, what would it be?
To constantly learning. I think of the early days where I was driving to work and listening to your podcast or like listening to Laureate Hughes. I was just constantly learning. Or if I had an injury that popped on my schedule that was a carpal hyperextension, I've never seen that before, I would learn about it before I was in front of that client. I was constantly learning while I was breastfeeding. Like my breastfeeding, my time was I was reading a textbook. Then it when I was getting ready and blow drying my hair, I would be watching a webinar at that time learning. It was just like ingrained throughout my day. And so that would be my advice to someone is just to be constantly learning. And at first you're like learning very heavily about the medicine. And then once you have the medicine down, then you're progressing to learning about business. You're like learning about finance, you're learning about accounting, and that's where I'm at now is now I'm at the process of everything that I'm doing that's learning, I'm learning it's about scaling and how to scale. And that is my focus. A lot of learning on communication. I'm constantly listening to podcasts on communication. And so I think that would be my advice to someone is whatever you set your goal, all your learning needs to revolve around how to accomplish that goal.
I love that because you obviously know we are vet rehabbers, never stop learning. So that's great
Mhm.
advice.
Yep.
Danielle, thank you so much for your time. It's been so lovely chatting to you. And I think that you've inspired so many vet rehab therapists. And yeah, thanks for all the pearls of wisdom that you shared. And yeah, we look forward to following your journey. And I'm sure we'll be hearing soon about that third, fourth, fifth, I don't know how many.
Yes. Hope
Um,
so.
yeah. So thank you for your time. It's been great.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, Megan. Take care.
Cheers, Danielle.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. I'm here every week talking to vet rehab therapists from all over the world about all things vet rehab. A big thanks to our sponsor, Paw Prosper. Their sponsorship allows us to be able to give this podcast to you for free. So go and check them out at pawprosper.com. And also don't forget to bookmark the next Vet Rehab Summit on Saturday, the 14th of November, 2026. Come and be a part of the world's largest online veterinary rehabilitation conference created specifically for you, the vet rehabber community. Online Pet Health members get VIP complimentary access to the Vet Rehab Summit. For more information about continuing education for vet rehabbers, you can go to onlinepethealth.com.